This class is the most chaotic one in the entire school. Every student here is considered a problem child. They dress however they want, dye their hair bright colors, and talk back to teachers without hesitation. As their female teacher steps in and asks for order, their eyes glare back at her in defiance. One boy with long hair even hurls a tennis ball straight at her. What they don't realize is that this calm, polite woman isn't just any teacher. She's someone you definitely don't want to mess with. Her name is Ji Hui, and she grew up inside a Yakuza family. Since childhood, she's trained in martial arts, mastering techniques that would humble most professional fighters. But unlike her relatives, Ji Hui has no desire to take over the family's criminal empire. Her dream is simple, yet pure. She just wants to be a teacher and make a difference. One day on a flight from Hong Kong to Japan, chaos erupts. The plane is suddenly hijacked right before landing. Passengers panic and scream, frozen in fear. But Ji Hui sits quietly, completely unfazed, lost in her own thoughts. She doesn't even flinch when the hijackers start yelling at people. It isn't until they threaten an old man that her patience finally runs out. In a flash, she stands up. The same calm woman transforms into a storm. What happens next is something the hijackers never see coming. By the time the police storm the plane, the armed men are already on their knees, trembling and begging for mercy. The media explodes with coverage, calling her a hero, though she humbly avoids the spotlight. When her fellow teachers learn about what happened, they realize just how dangerous she truly is beneath that gentle smile. Back at school, the principal urgently calls her in. He warns her to deny everything. If people find out that a Yakuza heiress is secretly working as a teacher, they'll both lose their jobs. But trouble seems to follow Ji Hui wherever she goes. Not long after, a group of local gangsters block the school gate, demanding to settle a score with one of her students, Rena. A few days earlier, some thugs had tried to extort money from one of the students in Ji Hui's class. Rena, unable to watch silently, stepped in and beat them up. Now those same gang members are here for payback. The principal hides under his desk, terrified, frantically calling the police. When the officers finally arrive, the gangsters reluctantly retreat. But instead of thanking Rena, the principal scolds him harshly, blaming him for causing trouble. He even decides to expel him and his friends to avoid more problems. Just as the decision is about to be finalized, Ji Hui stands up for them. She defends Rena, saying it was the gang that started the fight, not the students. She even puts her own career on the line, promising to resign if her students cause any more incidents. Her compassion shocks the class. For the first time, someone truly believes in them. Every other teacher had written them off as hopeless delinquents, but Ji Hui was willing to risk everything for their future. Rena feels torn. He knows the gang won't let this go, but he doesn't want to disappoint the one teacher who finally stood by his side. That night, Rena decides to face the gang alone. When Ji Hui hears about it, she's furious. Not because he disobeyed her, but because his so-called friends didn't stand by him. Heartbroken by their cowardice, she heads out to find him herself. Meanwhile, Rena is cornered by the gang, surrounded and outnumbered. Even so, he refuses to back down. Just as they're about to beat him senseless, Ji Hui bursts onto the scene. She calmly announces that she's Rena's homeroom teacher and demands they let him go. The gang laughs, mocking her confidence, until she moves. In an instant, Ji Hui dodges every strike with impossible precision and drops each thug with a single punch. Within seconds, the gang lies scattered on the ground, groaning in pain. The rest scramble to escape, terrified by the teacher they just underestimated. Moments later, Rena's classmates arrive, worried sick. The ones who'd abandoned him earlier apologize, ashamed. Rina, still stunned, can't stop wondering how his teacher could fight like that. When he confronts her, Jihoe simply says, "It doesn't matter who she used to be. What matters is protecting her students." After that night, everything changes. The students no longer see her as just a teacher. They see her as someone worth following. In a world where most people are selfish, a teacher who risks her life for her students is something rare and unforgettable. But peace doesn't last long. A few days later, 2 detectives arrive at the school. They're looking for information about Jihoe's former student, Kazama, who's now a suspect in a major drug case. The police claim he's gone missing after being caught near a deal. They even found his wallet at the crime scene, surrounded by packets of illegal powder. Everyone believes Kazama is guilty, everyone except Jihoe. She knows him better than anyone. He might have been a troublemaker once, but she helped him change. She refuses to believe he's turned into a criminal, so she hands her class over to a substitute and goes off on her own to find him and uncover the truth. When her old students hear what's happening, they rally to help. None of them believe Kazama could do something like this either. They split up and search everywhere he might have gone. Eventually, they find him hiding in an empty classroom. When they confront him, Kazama tries to brush them off, insisting he's fine. He doesn't want to drag Jihoe into his mess. Back in high school, he'd been labeled a failure, but Jihoe had never given up on him. She'd been patient, firm, and compassionate. Thanks to her, he'd turned his life around. Now he couldn't bear to see her risk her career again because of him, but Jihoe's persistence wears him down. Finally, he confesses the truth. After graduating, Kazama couldn't find steady work. One day, a friend offered him a side job delivering packages. Easy money for little effort. He was told to drop them at specific locations and earn 30,000 yen a night. Desperate to pay his bills, he agreed without asking too many questions. He didn't know the packages contained drugs, but then the police showed up, tipped off by an anonymous call. Panicking, Kazama ran, accidentally dropping his wallet in the process. When the drugs were found, all the evidence pointed to him. Too scared to explain, he went into hiding. Hearing this, Jihoe doesn't scold him. She teaches him instead. She tells him there's no such thing as easy money, and warns him never to let greed blind him. Some things in life, she says, are worth more than cash, like dignity and self-respect. That night, she lets him stay at her place. Using her family's underworld connections, she starts digging into the truth herself. Soon, her contacts return with information. The real mastermind is a man named Taro. Once a failed businessman, he rebuilt his fortune through smuggling and drug trafficking. Now he's using innocent young people as disposable couriers, and to make things worse, he's running for public office. When Jihoe's foster father learns of her plan to confront him, he warns her to stay out of it. He's too powerful, he says, but Jihoe refuses to back down. She won't let someone like Taro destroy more lives. Before she can act, her students beat her to it. They've overheard her conversation and decide to investigate Taro's company on their own. Sneaking past guards, they slip into the building and search for proof. Hidden inside an air vent, they find packets of drugs wrapped in ceramic. But before they can escape, Taro's men catch them. Luckily, Jihoe receives a message in time. She rushes to the scene and fights her way through the guards, rescuing the trapped students. Meanwhile, Taro is holding a massive press conference, surrounded by media and supporters, trying to polish his image for the election. Jihoe knows she has no time to waste. She tells her students to stay behind, then storms into the event hall. Just as Taro is about to speak, she bursts through the doors, exposing his crimes in front of the cameras. The confrontation is broadcast live across the country. everyone watching in shock. Taro tries to deny everything, pretending he's innocent. But Jihoi's students go live on social media, streaming footage of the drugs they found. Within seconds, his public image crumbles. His supporters scatter, journalists shout questions, and the chaos spreads. Cornered, Taro drops the act and orders his henchmen to attack her. They rush forward, overwhelming Jihoi with sheer numbers. Though she fights fiercely, she starts to tire. Just as one blow is about to land, her old classmate Oda arrives to help. But he's quickly knocked down. The men hold Oda at gunpoint, threatening to kill him if Jihoi resists. She has no choice but to surrender. She stands motionless as they beat her, taking every hit without striking back. Bloodied but unbroken, she refuses to show fear. Suddenly, Kazama and the other students burst in, shouting her name. The gang freezes for a moment, stunned. Jihoi yells for her students to stay out of it. She can't let them be tainted by violence. This fight, she says, is hers alone. Then she rises to her feet one last time, her presence radiating strength. With a few devastating strikes, she takes down the attackers one by one. Seeing his empire collapse, Taro pulls out a gun, aiming it directly at her. But Jihoi doesn't flinch. She looks him straight in the eyes and says, "Money can't buy loyalty or love. When things get hard, your people leave you. But my students, they're still here." Her words hit him like a blade. Just then, the police burst in. In panic, Taro raises his gun again. Without thinking, Jihoi steps in front of him, shielding everyone. She pleads with the officers to give him one more chance. Her compassion stuns Taro, a woman he's hurt, still willing to protect him. He lowers the gun, surrendering quietly. Before being taken away, he looks at Jihoi's students with envy and says softly, "You're lucky." Moments later, Rana and the rest of the class rush in, having watched everything unfold live. They surround their teacher, tears in their eyes, worried for her safety. Jihoi smiles, not because she won, but because she finally sees what she's been fighting for. Through all the chaos, she's achieved what she dreamed of, guiding her students back to the right path. The media hails her as a hero. Even the principal looks at her with newfound respect. But Jihoi doesn't care about fame. All she ever wanted was to see these once-lost kids find their way again. And now, they have. This movie is Gokusen. Its story might seem simple, even cliché, but beneath the surface, it's full of heart. It's a story about redemption, courage, and the kind of teacher who changes lives not by words, but by example.